let's hop on and see why RuneScape is so good and other MMOs need to learn from it.
RuneScape. You know, the old MMO that launched like a bazillion years ago and seems to still be growing every single freaking year and is really kind of just outside the top 2 big MMOs. Well, they're launching a new MMO.
Yep. Well, it's not MMO. It's not MMO.
No, wait, sorry. Not an MMO. A new game.
Yes.
That's a co-op survival game. And the funny thing is, every freaking MMO should be doing this shit.
What do you mean?
They should have been doing this for long time. But first, in brief, what is the actual game? Well, the game is RuneScape Dragonwilds, an upcoming co-op survival open world for 1 to 4 players set in the RuneScape IP and on the forgotten content of Ashenfall. Your ultimate goal is to challenge the dragons, the looming threat, something you'll need to build toward. You'll be
as long as there are dragons, sign me up, okay? Dragons are cool.
Crafting gear, leveling up, preparing potions, cutting down trees by launching spectral axes at them, and taking on different roles. Shielding your allies, launching devastating spells, or leaving a hail of arrows in the dragon's hide. Or, I guess, building homes, because you can do that too.
Oh.
The game will be launching first.
Shut up,
into
take my
early
money.
access, and we'll be doing it soon. But this video isn't about that game, despite how damn fun it looks to me. Especially games like this that like to lean into the RPG elements like Enshrouded, but have a sort of more
Big W for Enshrouded
boxy style to them.
Apparently a good game.
That's why I think stuff like this is so important to MMORPGs, not just now, but always. The first MMO I ever played was Ultima Online.
Dude. Of course. Of course. Great game.
And it was the evolution of a long-standing RPG series that was turned into an MMO title. EverQuest did it backwards, building out games from their IP after the fact.
Oh, look, we're watching Camelot Unchained right now. Oh, wait, no. This game is 30 years old. Oh, sorry. No, yeah.
Making 2 single-player ARPGs in Champions of Norrath 1 and 2, and making an RTS game in Lords of Norrath, and so much more other mediums like their TTRPG. Hell, they even had books. Like books that I literally just got.
I didn't know that.
All these different ways that they were expanding out. But it's
EverQuest had books. I know Guild Wars 2 had a book. One book, Guild Wars Ghost of Ascalon, I think. It's very rare to have a book based on the game.
Biggest MMO out there, the biggest launch ever, that I think we sometimes forget wasn't just out of nowhere. World of Warcraft would never have been as big as it was if it didn't have over a decade of players built into it, built into their IP from their long-standing RTS series.
Yes, and he brings up very good point. I will quickly interrupt the broadcast. If you go to my profile, see my replies. Someone wrote this. Has or can any MMORPG narrative build-up be better or bigger than the build-up to the death of World of Warcraft's Lich Kings? I don't think so, or Warcraft's Lich King. And I replied, it was epic. I probably killed him myself. But build-up was the result of the momentum that World of Warcraft had been generating from 2004. No other game could have done it. They had books written on the back of a video game, which is crazy. It doesn't mean there weren't stories worth telling. It's just there was no one to listen and kick off the snowball effect. So this is exactly what Redbeard Flynn is talking in this video. Like, you need some kind of context, lore, years of compounding interest to get people into the world, to get people to believe in that world, like Tolkien did. Okay, or the guy who wrote Dune. I already forgot his name. I just read it, but yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, it takes time, dude, and I love how like digital stories make it into real world. It's really nice.
An RTS series that had just come off one of the biggest games ever for the RTS in Warcraft 3.
Yes, dude.
They had a built-in audience. More recently, we've seen MMOs go the opposite direction over and over.
This is like a third or fourth YouTube video in which someone refers New World, and the only part of New World they show is how you can't swim. Like, there's nothing else to the game. You just can't swim. That's it. That's all what matters. That's all you have to know about the game.
New World could have actually just launched as a survival game to build an IP. Throne and Liberty actually had an incredibly established IP in Lineage.
Yes.
And I guess decided just to not use it because building a new IP is apparently easier.
Yeah.
One thing you'll notice with these examples I'm talking about is that it goes both ways. It's not just having a built-in IP recognition like World of Warcraft and Ultima Online did before launch, but also expanding your IP recognition post-launch like EverQuest did. It's something I wish more MMOs would do across the board. Make games in the IP to make the IP itself more valuable to its players.
Me and Niryu, we learned about Lineage 3 being in development, actually. So I guess it got to the point of Flynn's. He said that Throne and Liberty, like NCSoft building Throne and Liberty, they were supposed to use Lineage 2 IP to build the game, but they decided not to. Maybe there are two options here. One, they launched Throne and Liberty as a new IP, hoping it will beat the Lineage 2 IP. It didn't, and now they are going back to the idea that Lineage 2 actually was good, and Lineage 3 is supposed to come out based on that. Or they always had Lineage 3 in the works. It's just that Throne and Liberty kind of took the priority or whatever, right? But in any case, he's absolutely right. I think if you have loyal fans to your world, like, you know, Star Wars, StarCraft, Star Trek, then yeah, you will be much better off just leveraging that IP to create a digital world rather than starting from the ground up. What did I say about Lord of the Rings Online when we played it? So what I said is that if you take away the theme from Lord of the Rings, it's just an old, grindy game. Just remove IP. There's no Tolkien. Call it Adventures of Timmy, okay? It's like an old, aged game. But add Lord of the Rings on top of it, and now it's awesome. You know what I mean? This is a perfect example of how IP makes games more appealing and more interesting.
Arthas pulled me to World of Warcraft because of Warcraft 3. I gave more a shit about Thrall in World of Warcraft because of a great book about Thrall. It wasn't the game itself that just doing all the heavy lifting. I only played Champions of Norath because I had loved EverQuest and I wanted more lore. I wanted more story. I wanted the world that I was experiencing in EverQuest, but I wanted to see what it felt like in a different way, in a different playstyle, an action RPG. Which, I mean, in that terminology, action RPG, it wasn't like a freaking, like what you expect now. It was basically Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance with a war with EverQuest skinned on top of it. If you strip away the basis of the MMORPG genre, at least ones that aren't leaning too heavily into the whole sandbox part of it, it's
actually on that point a bit more. I think Dune Awakening, if it wasn't Dune, it was called, I know, Sandstorm, okay? It just call it Sandstorm Awakening, not Dune Awakening. I think it could stand the ground because the Dune Awakening game, like if you remove the franchise from it, yeah, it's still like unique. It's something else. And that means they're doing a great job because the obviously the franchise makes it easier to advertise and elevates the hype. It's great, but all I'm saying is that they have solid foundations that could have been called something else and still give people value for money.
A world. If you strip it to its base essence, it's just a world. And a world has stories. A world has stories to tell.
Yep.
And there doesn't just have to be a single medium to tell them. Having different mediums work together to tell that story can actually be more powerful. Games like Champions of North can act like a funnel into your MMO. Someone could play that game and say, hey, oh wow, they have an MMO. Yeah, I want to see what that's like. I got to expend this linear path in this game. What's it like in this big open world? And the same goes the other way. If you love the game and you want to experience more things, there are these systems that feed off of each other. One of the saddest things to me as a long-term player of MMOs, someone who's been playing MMOs and someone who started writing because of EverQuest, is seeing...
That's actually true. This guy has his own book on Amazon and actually sold pretty well.
Games become little more than spreadsheets. They're no longer the living and breathing world that EverQuest was or was trying to be. They're spreadsheets. It's more care about an 8% increase in your DPS on your damage meter, or it's more important to rush through the content so you can be world first. And of course, there are people that love that playstyle. It's just not me. I'll never forget.
It's actually, you know what's very interesting? I watch a lot of YouTube videos around MMORPGs, and everyone complains about parsing, min-maxing, a lack of immersion. People want good quest design. Okay, like this is what I'm hearing from different content creators, different forums. Like if you go to Reddit and you just read like what makes you play MMORPG and you open out that thread, you will see people saying, you know, the world, the exploration, the things that Flynn is saying in that video. My question is then, who are the games made for that are all about min-maxing and parsing and just metagaming? So he says here, like, there are people that like that kind of playstyle. And I'm asking, where are they? Because from my small sample, from my point of view, where I look around the internet, there's very little of them. At least they're not vocal, maybe. I don't know. But just, I'm trying to look at it from a different perspective. Maybe you're making games for an audience that doesn't exist.
First. And of course, there are people that love that playstyle. It's just not me. I'll never forget the excitement I had when Champions of North 1 and 2 were announced.
What the fuck is that?
And to this day, I still wish I could replay them on PC through a port or something. Because it was more of the thing that I wanted so bad. The lore, the world, the IP of EverQuest. You can take entire stories of lore from your games, turn them into RPGs. You can commission authors to write stories like World of Warcraft and even EverQuest did.
I will tell you one very interesting fact that doesn't have anything to do with games. I was working on a website for a real estate developer. They were building huge blocks of flats and the entire neighborhoods in Manchester in the UK. And I kid you not, they were so fucking about the, like, respecting community, respecting the heritage, and just making sure people feel like they belong. They hired a historian to dig out from the oldest of archives bits and pieces about every little street that they were building around. We knew like who walked the walkway. We knew who was born and said what to who. Like, it was crazy. And then we like presented that on their website as a little like history lesson kind of thing alongside the properties that they were building. You know what I mean? Like, it's possible. You just have to like want it. You just want it to happen, and you need to want it to happen. And so, yeah, we can do the same for games because these are like digital worlds. We write those stories. They're not written for us. That's even easier, right?
And it just reinforces the IP over and over again. It opens up more people to potentially go and play the MMO. It opens up more people to go and play the RPGs. It's a self-feeding cycle. And so that's why I love what RuneScape is doing here so much. The game itself looks incredibly fun, and it's just the kind of adventure that I badly want to play with some of my friends, and it makes me wish there was an EverQuest version of it, you know? These kind of things are, I think, an underrated part of how you build out an IP like this that works in an MMORPG. I think we look at some of the stuff that didn't work, some of the things that failed or didn't expand the brand enough, and we say like, okay, well then it's just not gonna work, or it's not worth the time or money. but I think there are so many players that would love to experience their favorite MMORPG in a different way, or people that would love their favorite RPG to be an MMO. At least
there is an army of balding 40 years old people with 3 wives and 10 kids, miserable about their lives, still clinging on to Lineage 2 nostalgia. Take this fucking Lineage 2 IP and make it into Lineage 2 Dragonwilds. Trust me, bro. Like, it will be on everyone's mind. Who's up for Lineage 2 Dragonwilds? Come on. Just make it like good. Don't infest it with pay to win though, yeah? It's just because that's not good. Okay? That's the opposite. That's bad, not good.
That's what I remember when, like, in the early 2000s, just kind of a lot of people saying, man, I really wish they would take Dragon Age and turn it into an MMO. Of course, the result of that was like shit like Anthem and live service. So maybe we should have been careful what we wish for. Let's move on. I want to end this short video with a short PSA to anyone who's making an MMO or considering making an MMO.
Okay.
Especially if you're doing it with your own brand new IP. Consider how hard it is to convince someone to try a new IP. And then consider how hard it is to convince someone to try an MMO. Then think about how long and how difficult it is to make an MMO. Sometimes starting that funnel might be the better idea. Just, throwing that out there. And from a player perspective, if you want to think about cost and value, well, wouldn't you rather spend, instead of spending $90 on a mount, maybe spend $50 on a f***ing RPG? Just, in the same IP? I would prefer that, personally.
Yeah.
The thing is...
Don't even start me on the $90 mount.
There's actually a chance that games like this one that RuneScape is making, this co-op survival game, could actually even potentially replace the MMOs. So I would actually much prefer that instead of that, they worked alongside an MMO to kind of feed into the MMO. And that's something I talked about in a bit more detail, a bit more depth in this video right here. We talk about the future of MMOs and the way that I see things going. My name is Redbeard Flynn. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful
as always,
day.
fucking great video, dude. Absolutely. Like, let me like it. I really think this is a way to go. Definitely. There is a reason why we go back to the drawing board with so many games. We have every new game that shows up, every new MMO. We always compare it to a game that already exists. We don't compare new games to bad titles. We compare them to old classic MMO, okay? Like, Warborn Above Ashes is Albion Online. I don't know, the Clash of Adventurers, this is Lineage 2. Apogea is Tibia. There is a reason for it. It's because the games that we recall from the past to make sense of what we're looking at right now are just good example of how the games should be. And if someone can use the IP and the principles from those games to provide a refreshed user experience, I'm all in, dude. Like, 100%. What the fuck are we even waiting for?
Subscribe.